percentage changes that may be mandatory subjects of bargaining. And these terms, the new terms that are negotiated, have to be analyzed for impacts on multi-employer plan liabilities. So the biggest liability that we're usually concerned with is whether a buyer might be assuming withdrawal liability. Withdrawal liability occurs when a contributing employer ceases to have an obligation to contribute to the plan, or a business covered by the plan ceases operations. And Bob's going to give us Withdrawal Liability 101.
Thank you, Joni. So withdrawal liability, what does it represent? How is it calculated? Are there limitations on it? How is it collected? We'll try to cover that in a few minutes. All of the sections involved are ERISA sections 4201 through 4225. And conceptually, withdrawal liability for a complete withdrawal represents the employer's share of the unfunded vested benefits of the multi-employer plan. Before going further, I just want to flag the fact that there is a concept of partial withdrawals and a related concept of partial withdrawal liability in ERISA. And as a slide indicates, that can occur, for example, if there's a 70% reduction in participation over a 3-year period by the employer, or there are certain other circumstances such as selling one location covered by or exiting one location covered by the plan but keeping others. That can also, in some cases, result in partial withdrawal liability. But returning to the main concept of full withdrawal liability, unfunded vested benefits are the actuarially determined present value of plan's vested benefits less plan assets. As Joni indicated, these are defined benefit plans, which means that the benefits are stated as an annuity commencing at a later age. Typically, it's normal retirement date. And the actuary has to determine what the present value of those benefits are in current terms. So how much money would have to be set aside now in order to fund those benefits. Obviously, plan assets can change with employer contributions going into the plan, benefit payments coming out of the plan, investment earnings, gains, and losses. Present value of benefit liabilities depends first on the benefit liabilities themselves. They can grow with benefit accruals. They get reduced with benefit payments. They get changed if the benefit formula is changed. But perhaps most crucially, for our purposes, changes in actuarial assumptions impact what the present value is, particularly interest and mortality. Mortality, obvious. If you assume people will live longer, they'll collect annuities longer, so you need more value of assets to fund them. Interest rate might work counterintuitively. A high interest rate means that you need fewer assets now in order to pay the benefits in the future. So a higher interest rate tends to reduce withdrawal liability. Low interest rates tend to increase them, and that is actually can be pretty dramatic. Interest rate changes from year to year, and one of the reasons multi-employer plans and defined benefit plans have had some funding issues over the years is that really for the last 20 years we've been at historically low interest rates, causing present value of benefits to be higher than they might otherwise be. So that's the first step, is the actuary will determine the unfunded vested benefits of the plan. The next step is how is that allocated amongst employers? It is possible to do it precisely, and for each employer determine what benefit accruals their actual employees had and what the present value of those are, and compare that to the assets that actually are attributable to the company's contributions. But that's a very complex method, and so although ERISA permits it, instead the more common methods depend on the employer contribution levels versus other employers during the period the employers participated, and how the plan's funding status has changed during that participation. So if you've ever read a multi-employer withdrawal liability estimate, you will typically see for each year there's a tranche for the amount that the unfunded vested benefit liabilities have changed during that year, and then that's allocated to the employer based on, typically it's the 5-year preceding contribution history. But another thing that can affect withdrawal liability and allocate it to employers is that if an employer withdraws from the plan and is unable to